Hello students, I welcome you all for today's session. The topic for today's session is checkbox. You have filled so many registration forms online. You must have observed this checkbox on any of the web page. The checkbox could be given for hobbies, for example, for different hobbies, like a person may have 2 or 3 hobbies. So checkboxes are usually used when we have to gather multi-choice input from the user. A checkbox control is a single button that is either on or off, or you can say that it is checked or not. If a checkbox button is on, then the value which is associated with the name of the button is going to be the string assigned to its value attribute. Every checkbox button requires a name and a value attribute in its input tag. For form processing on the server, the name identifies the button and the value is its value associated. The attribute checked, which is assigned the value checked, specifies that the checkbox button is initially on. So we will see one example on checkbox. So in the example, we can observe that we have created a checkbox for grocery list. Okay, so it is going to be a grocery checklist, and this checklist has 3 items: milk, bread and eggs. So how do we create this checklist? We are going to start with the root element, that is our HTML, followed by the heading tag, and the title I have given it as checkboxes. Close the head tag and then start with the body, because this is the page where you are going to display your content. I have used a paragraph tag giving the title as the grocery checklist, followed by the form tag, which is very important. When we have to include any input type elements, we need to first include the form tag. The action is specified as an empty string, because there is no corresponding application which is going to process the form. I have used a label followed by the input type. The input type I have given it as a checkbox, because I am creating a grocery checklist. The name I am giving it as groceries. Value is milk. Okay, so the first item in a checkbox is milk, and I have written here as checked is equal to checked. This means this first item is going to be initially on when I load my web page. Then I display what is to be written as milk and then close the label tag. Here only I have closed the input tag. Okay. So coming to the second item, I have again written the input type as a checkbox, given the name as groceries, value as bread. So this is my second checkbox item, bread. The third item I have given it as eggs. So my grocery list has 3 items. Okay. The input type is going to be checkbox for all 3, and the name is also going to be remain the same, that is groceries. Fine. Then I am closing the form tag followed by body and the HTML tag. So this is how we can create simple checklist. This could be even a to-do list. So according to your requirement, you can customize the checklist. Now we will see a brief demo on the checklist. First thing what I am going to do is open the notepad file. I'm going to start with HTML, H. I'm going to give the title as checkbox. And then I close the head tag. Body, I am going to include a paragraph tag and I say grocery. We give a head tag to this. Grocery checklist, H2, close, and then close the paragraph. Here comes the most important thing, the form tag. Actually, I am going to leave it as an empty string. Label. Input type is equal to checkbox. Name is equal to groceries. value is equal to milk. Okay, and then I write checked is equal to checked. So this is going to be my initial item on the checklist. I close the label. Then this comes my second item. Input type is equal to checkbox. Is equal to groceries. Value is equal to eggs. Okay, and then I close the input tag, and here I close the label tag. Coming to the third item on my list is, so what I should use here, checkbox. Name is going to remain same. Groceries. Value is equal to rich. This is the value. Just a small change. I have to write the milk thing here. So there are 3 items in my checklist. Okay. So then I close the form tag, body tag, HTML tag. Okay. So this is how we are going to create a simple grocery checklist of 3 items. Input type is given as checkbox, so we can select multiple inputs. Name is given as groceries. Fine. 3 items. The first item initially checked is milk. So we'll save it. Save it as example3.html. Okay. So can you see the heading tag I have used saying grocery checklist, and my checklist has 3 items: milk, eggs and bread. And initially the first item I have written it as checked is equal to checked. That is why the initially milk item is checked. Now I can select multiple. If I want, I can select all 3. Okay, so this is how your checkbox is going to work. Now what is going to happen is, if the user does not turn on any of the checkbox buttons in this particular example, then the milk is going to be the value for groceries in the form data. If the milk checkbox is left on and the eggs checkbox is left on, that is turned on by the user, then the values of the groceries in the form data will be milk and eggs. Okay. Now let us try to add few more elements to our checklist. I add another element, input type checkbox, name I given it as groceries, value I give it as cheese. So this is my okay. Now just observe what I am going to do. Initially in the previous example we had written checked is equal to checked for the first item. Okay. Now I am going to write it for bread. I want this to be initially marked. So deleted checked is equal to checked from the milk list and then added it to the bread. Click on save. Can you see? Initially, in the previous example, initially milk was turned on or it was checked, and now it is going to be bread. So I can select these 2 items, I can select 3 items, and I can select 4 items. So it is a multi-choice user input. This is also fine. Okay. So the main thing we have to remember is it is going to be multi-choice, but in case of radio buttons, it is only one choice at a time. Fine. So thank you, students. We'll continue in the next session.